Katie Price has spent the last few days blasting husband Kieran Hayler for allegedly cheating on her with her children's nanny, Nikki Brown. Despite Nikki herself denying sex with him, Katie has claimed that a tearful Kieran confessed to having a year-long affair with the smelly nanny, whose beau and reek of cigarettes didn't quite put him off his infidelity. Yesterday, Katie appeared on Loose Women to reveal the gory details of Kieran's latest indiscretion. And, amid speculation there's more to this story than meets the eye, body language expert Judy James has analyzed the Price's performance. Here's what she made of the appearance. While the Price says she never lies, her performance was chock full of incongruent body language signals, says our expert Image Rex Shuttershock. Katie always states that she never lies, and I do tend to believe her, but her performance on Loose Women was still chock full of incongruent body language signals as she spoke about Kieran's cheating, suggesting this is a complex story involving strong amounts of suppression or even denial of emotional responses. Katie is always good at flagging up a serialization though, and when she said there were also other things going to come out, she was probably at her most credible. When Katie forgave Kieran the first time, she must have realized deep down that all a horrific sounding part 2 was probably inevitable. Katie Price and Kieran Hayler. Image Getty. Katie said about mending her marriage like an Airfix kit, but no amount of spin and gloss would ever remove the memory of what he did from her mind. This would fit with the fact that overall she delivered her current news on Loose Women with the posture and masked tone of dignified, world-weary cynicism, suggesting she might have spent months rehearsing this moment in her mind. There were only the smallest amounts of emotional leakages. She reported what had happened. Sitting upright, looking self-consciously poised and with her hands folded demurely in front of her, Katie looked on the surface like a woman reporting on a bad shopping trip rather than a toxic marriage. She delivered her news on Loose Women with the posture and masked tone of dignified, world-weary cynicism, says Judy. Image Rex Shuttershock. Katie's words had an oddly unemotional delivery. Image Rex Shuttershock. When she was asked about the cheating, she performed a small tut, breathed out in a sigh, looked down and reached for the impersonal cliché, "It is what it is." In verbal and nonverbal terms, this suggested we were only seeing the tip of a very large iceberg. Her vocal technique, called listing, created an oddly unemotional delivery. This is where you talk in a calm monotone with just a slight lift-ear tone on the last word of each point, the sort of professional tone a police officer might use to describe the scene of a crime in court. Two gestures suggested a hint of the much deeper emotions that she was probably trying to keep a lid on though. Her first response was to raise one hand to her face in a partial cut-off gesture, which hinted that, despite the bravado, Katie had a desire to hide or shield her real emotions. Her first response was to raise one hand to her face in a partial cut-off gesture, says Judy. Image Rex Shuttershock. She stuck out a tongue while discussing the nanny, indicating disgust. The second was a small tongue poke as she spoke about the nanny, which is often a signal of rejection and even disgust. Katie's most incongruent moments came when she spoke about her marriage. When she said, "Our marriage was perfect," her eyes flicked upward and her voice did that small tonal scoop that suggested she might have been fooling herself. And when she added that their sex life was perfect, she looked up and shook her head in a gesture normally associated with the word not.